We're so blessed and honored, Laurie Wondra.
Thank you. I guess I have a few new things I need to add to my website, Jay. Thank you for that, or my business cards. Good morning. Good morning. Do you remember that old song on WCCO, the Good Morning, Good Morning? That's what came into my head this morning, right? Now it's going to be in your heads all day, right? But I wanted to say good morning. The theme this month is when we reframe. And I'm driving here to Lake Harriet this morning, and the world always gives us signs and metaphors and those types of things. And I'm noticing all the little tracks that are going off the road, and then the big tracks where people have been maybe off track. And I thought, what a perfect message, as the universe is giving these messages we want to be on track, right? We want to live our best life ever. And so I'm going to talk about some easy reframing practices that we can do. I have some handouts that you can take with you to remind you words and phrases and feelings and those types of things that'll help you in your day-to-day. I'm going to talk about signs and symbols from the universe because today is 3/3/2019. So it's a 333 number, right? Mind, body, soul. And if you notice, I have a lot of events coming here in March. Universe did that on purpose because March is a very powerful month for us. And so I'm going to talk about that too and how the universe is helping align where we are. And then we're going to wrap up with a meditation at the end. That's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to expand your perception or just maybe expand what has been a normal meditation for you. So I always forget I have to control this, right? Okay, so do you believe we are continually reframing in our lives? Do you believe that statement? And I want you to pause for just a moment and think about where you maybe have reframed. And reframing happens when either we create it on purpose or we have a situation in our life that just causes us to reframe, or the universe has stepped in, right? Loss of job, loss of home, a change of job, a promotion, those types of things, a new family member. But I want to plant that seed today. Do you believe that we're continually reframing? Yes? Yes. All right. And my computer science background, I always have to bring a little bit of science into the metaphysical. This is what I do. So I'm going to take you back to preschool or kindergarten, where there's 3 primary colors, right? And then there's 3 more secondary, and we combine those by combining the primary colors. But then there's 6 tertiary colors by then mixing, okay? You guys know that already. But did you know that there's psychophysicists that study how we see color? And so somewhere along the line, they asked about, based on our basic visual systems, what's the total number of colors that we can see, starting from those 3 primary colors. So they actually built a formula in this. Leave it to the scientists in the world, right? To bring science and just the magnificence of us. So we see about 1,000 levels of light and dark, 100 levels of red, green, and 100 levels of yellow, blue. So that's 1,000 times 100 times 100, or 10 million colors. So we have the capability of seeing 10 million colors. It's just with our eyes, okay? That's pretty cool, right? A computer displays, that's my technology background, about 16.8 million colors to create. That's more than we can really take in from our sight. But we actually take it in other ways. Okay? These same psychophysicists went on to prove, and I call it our magnificence. If we can see at least 10 million colors in a single viewing, and they apply to 3, we have 3 modes typically, and the variety of lighting types, lighting levels, and the viewing conditions, that's like the surface that you're seeing, the angle that you're seeing, all the different ways that you might adjust your eyes, how you're sitting, how you're leaning forward, we can see infinite colors. But they actually applied a formula to it. So they took this formula, this 6 times 3 times 10 million, and they have 18 with 33 zeros behind, which is 18 decimillion. Aren't you guys magnificent? When I look at you and I see color and I see light, I don't see 18 decillion of light in front of me, but I do see your brilliance. And I want to talk today about that brilliance that you have and how do you use the brilliance to create some filters. Because if we believe that we can see infinite colors, let's start applying our other senses, hearing, sight, smell. Then we have other social factors, our education, our family upbringing. We have other genetic factors. It's too mind-boggling to put a formula down into all the filters that we can create to create our reality. Aren't you powerful? So if you understand power versus control and the energy, as Jay said, everything is energy. And if you understand how can you use the forces of energy, how can you start to create you in a different way? Does anyone want to create you in a different way? Is anyone in here absolutely satisfied, happy with everything in your life right now? Yes. There's moments of that, and thank you for that, because there's moments where we're like, oh my gosh, I'm just in bliss. Today I woke up, I heard the birds singing, it is so brilliantly white out, I am in bliss. But then the reality was when I went outside to start my vehicle in the garage, right? That's what the universe does to us. We have those moments, and when we reframe, it's just, how long can we keep ourselves in that bliss? How long can we snap ourselves out of the I'm freezing into, oh my God, look at the sun. So that's part of using our filters effectively. Okay. So do you believe emotion is energy in motion? So those that have seen me speak before, I speak a lot about the emotional body. And right now, what I'm seeing in people's energy fields, so we have our physical body, then we have this etheric energy field around us, then the emotional body, spiritual body, mental body, astral planes. I'm seeing a thinning of this etheric body. We have no shield. We have no protection, and we don't need protection. But that's getting stripped away in order for us to expand that emotional body. So if you've been feeling really intense energy, you've been crabby, you've been triggered, people around you have been unhappy, or you find that your resilience or the amount of time you have patience in a situation is thin, it's because that buffer really is flattened. And thank goodness, that's what the universe is helping us with, right? I always say thank goodness. It's uncomfortable, but thank goodness. So I always think about life stories. Think about Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Goldilocks spent that story chasing, the porridge is too hot, it's too cold, it's just right. The bed is too hard, the bed is too soft, the bed is just right. That's kind of what we're doing in this energy right now. That's us in the middle, and we're looking for that just right. If we are in a situation where the frequency is too low, it gets uncomfortable, right? It just feels not right. Something's off. But equally so, if we're in a situation where the vibration is too high, and we often forget about that. We keep striving to go to the heights of high vibration, but we might not be ready for that. And that's some of what our evolution is happening right now, or moving through, is like we're finding that level. What's right for me? So think about the situations that the universe is bringing forward for you, or what you are creating, and how are you feeling in that state? Is it a low vibration or is it a high vibration? And recently I've noticed we have a tendency to speak about everything that is uncomfortable as it's a low vibration. And I want to expand that a little bit today, because it might be a high vibration. And it might be a totally okay high vibration. but it just might not be for you yet. Does that make sense? And how we say it might not be right for you yet is what is showing up in your life again and again and again. Because the universe keeps giving you that opportunity, it keeps giving you either a low frequency or a high frequency and saying, are you ready yet? Are you ready to experience this yet? Okay. By the way, if you guys have questions as I'm talking, don't be afraid to raise your hand, and we will let you ask your question. I just ask that we have a microphone here somewhere, that we get you on microphone. Okay, so in this vibrational too high, too low, it creates a contrast. And without that contrast, there's no movement. We stay at that sameness. We stay at that center line. And even Goldilocks, the story doesn't go on about how she grew up and she moved out of the little hut, but we can just believe that at some point her life shifted and she needed to move on. I'd like to plant that seed. So let's talk about triggers. What's triggering you guys right now? Are you asking yourself, why did this happen? And if anybody's asking, why did this happen, shift it to, what am I learning? Or why won't this stop? Why does this person keep coming back? Why does the same boss keep showing up at every job I go to? What's the pattern? And right now, in March, Spirit is asking us to be open to the experience. So there's magic in this 333. The last 3 months have been torturous to some people. And I choose that word very succinctly, because it's been meant to stir up those inner and those deep wounds. But now we're going into the next 6 months of shifting our energy. And so we want new tools. Maybe some of you came this morning because you want new tools, or your soul, right? And I had made a comment that you guys are brave because you came out in the cold this morning, and Jay said, well, you guys got cabin fever, but I call it soul cabin fever. It has nothing to do with the weather. It has to do with the energy and what you're experiencing. It's like your soul is saying, I need out. I need some sunshine and some spring, whatever that might be. One of the practices that I developed and used all the years in my corporate was observing the observer. So it's very easy. We go through natural phases, right? We go through a phase of, I want to observe other people. I don't want to react to it or act on it. I want to just observe. But the next step is observing the observer. Observe you. And yesterday I was sitting in my office, and I have windows in my office, so as I'm working I could look out, and I could see my neighbor going out with a snowblower and couldn't get it to start or whatever, so he just left it, and then he was trying to get his vehicle out of his driveway. And pretty soon his wife came out of the house, and she's flailing her arms. And normally, we would sit back and we'd be all drawn into that. What's going on between this couple? And we'd start to make up a story about them because we don't know. That's what our brains do. We fill in the details. But instead, I stepped back into observing the observer. How was I feeling about watching my neighbors? What feeling was it bringing up with me? Was it bringing up a memory of maybe a time I couldn't get out of the driveway? Was it bringing up another memory? So a thought for you today is, when can you step back? It's a natural step. You're observing a situation, and you start going into pondering and being curious as to what's going on over there. But go to a step deeper. Observe yourself observing. And then start to ask yourself, why am I observing? I got work to do. I can't watch this couple here in their yard. I got to focus here. But start to observe. You start to notice the distractions that you have in life. You start to notice the stories you might make up. What? An aha moment. So the other thing I learned, I think it was on the previous slide, was showing up pristine. And what does that mean? So as a leader, and for a lot of years I managed big groups around the world, and the cultures were all different. And so I really had to focus, whether I was in purpose or in front of them, or if I was on the phone, is I had to be pristine in my energy. I had to show up with no preconceiving as to what the result was going to be, how those people were going to show up. I had to show up pristine. And when I look at the snow, what do we like best when a fresh fallen snow? The pristineness of the white. Nobody stepped on it. There is no blackness from the cars and the vehicles. It's pristine. So I would challenge you, as you use this observe the observer, is go into each situation with pristine energy. Family gatherings, we got to practice this at Christmas time or over the holidays, where you get together with family and you go in and you have a preconceived how the event is going to go, and you plan your out. I don't want you to plan your out, okay? I want you to plan showing up and being pristine and having the experience that the universe has given you to have. That's why you're there. And you can assess and you can ponder and you can think and you can be curious afterwards, but for that moment, show up pristine and be present. Because that's what this energy is that we're in right now. We have all these forces of the planets that are moving us forward, showing us things. But if we get bogged down into old patterns or old beliefs, then the opportunity slips away. So not expecting all is the same as before. And I want to say that again. Don't expect the same. Don't expect your reaction. Your action is going to be the same as it was a few years ago. You guys are transforming. You are different. You walk out of here in another hour or 30 minutes, you are different. And so expect yourself to be different and allow yourself to be different. And suddenly, if tomorrow you don't like a particular thing, or you do like something, I'm going to pick, you don't like Brussels sprouts, and now all of a sudden you do like Brussels sprouts, know that you are shifting, you are changing. That's part of the influences that are around us. I love this picture. And it brings me back to, the old photography where it used to be the metal plate and they'd, put some gunpowder or something on it, would puff up, and then they'd have to do a negative or reverse. And over time we had the roll film, the 35 millimeter, and then some of us had the 110. Do you remember that? And then digital came along, and that was like the best thing. And then editing, cropping, software that we could change. So I just want to say, where in your life might you be cropping out an experience, or where might you be fuzzing or making the marks go away in order to make it seemingly easier? Because the universe is going to come back and have you take that picture again. So framing our emotions set in motion, different feelings, different actions, different words. They set in motion how we are showing up. Maybe I should have handed these out. If I could just... So one of the top things on the list here, I'm not going to go through this entire sheet, but fear, because that's typically our humanness. That's what shows up, is when we fear something, we shut down. That's an old energy pattern that we have. But we're actually moving from 3D to 5D. How many of you have heard that? Third dimension to 5 dimension. And we're like, what the heck is that? Yes, it's ascension. It's awakening. It's awareness. It's coming into just being. We're not going anywhere. We're becoming, or we're remembering. So on the bottom of this sheet, there are some typical 3D emotions, and I just want you to take a scan through them. And maybe this is a practice you can do later on today, is test yourself. How many of these are you still in this 3D emotion? Are you starting to move into the right-hand column, the 5D, where patience, you're moving more into compassionate indifference? Yeah. I winter in Arizona, and I just came back from Sedona, and I had great discussions with my team down there about what matters. We had the huge discussion about, when we teach or when we speak, it's like, what matters? And I said, it doesn't matter. I was really indifferent, and I showed up different this year than I had been in the past. It's like the experience is going to be the experience. Our responsibility is to provide the space to show up in our best being, but the result is not, we can't predict that. And the result, I want to say, within boundaries of responsibility, don't matter. So being indifferent, okay? Concern, judgment, changing that to compassion, polite observation, anger. So if you guys are feeling anger, I just want to say you're in transition. And much like growing pains, you'll move out of that transitionary state into a 5D emotion. Part of the 5D emotion, or 5D emotions, is being able to speak your truth without being tethered to an emotion. Does that make sense? I can speak my truth. I can hear things. I can experience things, and I'm not tied to an emotion. The other thing, 5D brings more joy and playfulness. I heard the word joy a couple times this morning as I was waiting. How many of you are feeling more joy or playfulness? That's really important. It elevates that frequency. Feeling overwhelmed. Anyone feeling overwhelmed? That's a big one right now. And I always say, you're never given more than you can handle. Just look at it as the possibilities that are being placed in front of you. Okay? On the back side, I just have some common language and then words of power. So if you are doing presentations, if you're writing letters, if you're journaling, go back and take a look at the words that you may have chosen in those areas. And are you shifting more to words of power? Words of using your energy. And I'm using the word power today as energy, using your energy. And then the bottom section is just words of the third dimension, or words to help you remain. And I love this. I choose, I prefer. And talking about, I experienced a loss. It created an opportunity to understand. And when we use these words, I see a shift in your energy field. I see that etheric field brighten. It actually turns like a bright limey green color. And then I see an expansion of your emotional field. And when you use the words on the left column, typically it shrinks back in. It's more protected. So there's an energy exchange that we have with ourselves and with each other simply in our words. But now I'm going to back it up a little bit. Because we aren't talking all the time, but we're thinking all the time. So I want to challenge you on the words that you're thinking too. Because if I were to ask you to think and just mentally go down that left side, I would see your energy field shrink. And then if I asked you to read or feel the words on the right, I would see you expand. Okay? So we have power, and I talked about there's really two ways that reframing can happen. One, things that we create, and one, things that the universe directs for us. The universe directs changes in our life, and I mentioned earlier loss or unexpected change. Sometimes that's happening because it gets you aligned to your purpose. But right now, there's a lot of gateways and portals happening in the universe. So I just posted last week, we have a few more days. We have Mercury retrograde on March 5th, coming up in a few days. But up to that point, every single planet in our solar system was direct. And what that means in simple terms is direct is it's moving forward. It's in its natural progression. And some of these, Pluto, it takes 254 years for it to go around. So some of them are faster and slower, but Mercury is going to go stationary or retrograde here in a few days. So right now we're in this magnificent pool of push energy. And you guys are probably feeling it. Like, I got to get things done. There's new ideas, new creativity, new actions, new opportunities that are coming. But I want you to go back to that sheet and say, is fear coming up for you? So like if the opportunities are coming in, is it generating, is it triggering some fear in you? Because if it is generating a trigger or a fear, that's exactly what the universe wants you to work on to clear. Because right now we're clearing any roadblocks or anything that's getting in our way. Okay? I'm going to talk about two actually Uranus and Chiron. Chiron's a comet, but Uranus is all about intuition. So Uranus is just moving into Taurus. It was retrograde. Uranus is about sudden, quick changes. So expect sudden, quick changes. But the cool thing about this planet, it's our intuition development. And it's going to be in Taurus for the next 7 years. So talk about development, right? Talk about the opportunity. But expect sudden, unexpected changes. And know that you have the resilience. Know that you have tools. Know that you can do this. Know that, is it time? Think back to that little chart where the vibration was high or low. Where are you in that? Chiron is a wise teacher. It's the healer. It's often depicted as the wounded healer. And Chiron is helping us heal or be done with a lot of or all of our childhood wounds, core wounds, archetypes, or ancestral wounds. So that too might be why you're being triggered and you don't know where it's coming from. Why am I so irritated with this person? I don't even know this person. They might be something from a past lifetime, an archetype that you're carrying. But instead of being in that energy of why am I so irritated with this person, it's like, what am I learning about myself? What is this showing me now? Okay. We have a lot of Aries energy. We just moved into March. A lot of Aries energy, which is I am. And Chiron is pushing that button about I am. So many of you are re-identifying yourselves. You're reframing your life. Anybody in that? You're reframing your life. You're reframing your soul. I'm not talking about the third dimension. You're reframing in that fifth dimension your soul to prepare you for the future. Okay. Questions before I want to do a meditation this morning. And we can do questions after, too. So, Gary, could I have some background music, please? And traditionally in meditation, we talk about taking a deep breath and clearing your mind. I want to allow your minds to just go to where your minds want to go today. Okay? Allow your mind to go where it wants to go. And as we enter into this meditation, if there's been something that's been on the top of your mind, something that's bothered you, something that keeps coming up, it's okay for you to go there, to think about that this morning. And as you take a very relaxed breath, finding a comfortable place in your chair, resting your feet, your body, allowing yourself to sink into the chair. And as you breathe gently, notice how your lungs fill and they release. And notice how relaxed you are. And in your mind's eye, I'd like you to say to yourself, I am open to all the divine messages from the universe that are available to me. I am open to all the divine messages from the universe that are available to me at this time. I turn on all my filters. I turn on all my receiving points that will allow this information to come to me in a way that I can understand. I turn on all my filters and all my receiving points that allow this information to come to me. And just continue to breathe and relax. No expectation. Allowing the energy of your body to flow like the music. And now I'd like you to begin to notice thoughts that might be swirling in your mind. Allowing your mind just to be this morning, just to allow it to interact. And for a moment, you might think about attempting to push those thoughts away, but I'd like you just to allow them to swirl around you and notice what thoughts are swirling around. They may drift in and out, but as they are swirling around, they seem to continue to come back to you. And you might notice a consistent thought or a consistent theme that continues to swirl back into your reference. And just acknowledge this thought. It may have been the first thought you had today, or a recent thought. We're just allowing our minds to lead us now. Allow yourself to think about what you are thinking about. Allow yourself to think about what you are thinking about. And in this quiet space and time where all your filters are open and your receiving points are activated, the universe is supporting you. And you're open to any messages or information that you might receive. Now take this thought and pull it down into your heart. Pull it down into the feeling center of your system. And begin to notice how you feel about what you're thinking about. Notice how you feel about what you're thinking about. Are you happy, sad, anxious, fearful, nervous, excited, curious, peaceful, or do you feel nothing? Notice what you feel or the absence of any feeling. This may be an emotion or maybe a spirit, an experience, a feeling as a physical feeling, or you might feel it in your body. You might feel this as an emotional feeling or a physical feeling in your body. Perhaps in your heart center, your neck, your back, your fingers. Allow yourself to explore this place with a few moments, just noticing of what you're feeling. All sensors are open. All filters are open. And you're allowing yourself to move between thinking, the thought, and feeling. Thinking the thought and feeling until you are relaxed. As you become relaxed, you have a good sense of this feeling. And you allow your internal compass to register it and to settle. This is like if you were to hold a compass and you physically spin around and then you suddenly stopped. You have to wait for just a moment for that compass to register the exact spot and the direction you are. This is what you're doing between this thought that you've pulled down into your heart and the feeling that you have about this thought. You are allowing the compass to settle. You are acknowledging your feeling and what your internal compass has provided as an insight. You are resetting your compass. You may suddenly find you no longer remember what the thought was, or what you are now feeling is replaced by calm, peace, love, joy, a sense of being. This is the space of possibility, curiosity, freedom, joy, and acceptance. And as you notice your breath, we begin to come back into this dimension, leaving the space that we've created, leaving the reset, coming fully back into your physical body, mind, spirit, body. You can thank the universe for hearing you, showing you, speaking with you, and letting the universe know that you'll be back again another time. And taking a deep breath, coming back fully, feeling your back against the chair, your feet against the floor, feeling the tingling in your hands, the joy in your heart. How did that feel? Could you put a feeling to a thought? You know, when we have these thoughts spinning around, we can use language to reframe, but we also have to do some of the emotional work on it. And if we can pull it down into that heart area and feel the emotion that's in that thought, it gives us clues as to what we have to clear, or what we get to clear. Because that's the energy that we're in right now, and the universe is wanting us to clear this. So the universe is giving us the opportunity. And when I think about the mounds of snow that we have, I have to see the opportunity in it, right? Right? Because we're here. But in full moon time, I always talk about the illumination. The full moon illuminates those places in your life that need a little bit of work, or it's time to do that work. I just want to throw this up there. And with the snow, look at that as being an illumination also. We can't escape it. You got to pull your sunglasses out because it's so bright. And it's illuminating those things within us during the day. So in this space of realigning, of reframing, I love this picture because it's so true. When a child learns to walk and falls down 50 times, he never thinks to himself, maybe this isn't for me. Because this doesn't even occur. So as you go out into the world and as you're triggered or as you have experiences, it's like shifting. Like I have to go forward. I get to go forward. This is my opportunity. All right. Thank you. I'll take questions if you guys have any questions this morning. Yes, and do we have a microphone, Jay? Thank you.
I really liked what you talked about today. You touched on Chiron, the wounded healer, and ancestral trauma and stuff like that.
Yeah.
My question's a little off, but I was curious if you know anybody that, or have heard of family constellation therapy.
Yes.
Do you know anybody in Minnesota that does it?
I think there's some people here at Lake Harriet that do that. I don't. Is there anybody in the... to talk about that. Yeah, actually, I was introduced to it by my friends in Sedona years ago. So, but we are looking for all sorts of different tools and healing techniques to align us or to release us. So, okay. So that might be a great topic for a future Sunday, but thank you on that. Okay. Not off topic at all. We're all looking for ways to further our journey. All right, other questions? Yes. Hang on just a second, Ruben.
Sorry to bring this up, but there is an author, I can't remember his name, but I think the last name is Joseph, put out a book that basically said that the earth is going into a glaciation period, and this is like the end of the world or whatever. and I've just thought, okay, how should I as a spiritual person look at that? I mean, is it something that, I need not to worry about if indeed we're going into a glaciation period, we're just going to die and all that stuff? Do I need to worry about that since I'm spiritual? And how seriously do I take that stuff? Do I just ignore it? With the climate changes, you kind of wonder sometimes. And he also talks about, electricity and sunspots and all that. How much should we spiritual people be concerned about, or how much should we ignore it?
So that's a great question. I just had a group conversation on the phone last night about the weather and the philosophy of what's creating this. Because it's not just Minnesota. It's everywhere in the United States. If you've flown anywhere recently, everything is white, but they're getting torrential rains other places. And so one person brought up, is it the satellites? It's because we no longer have these satellites that are controlling weather. And is it a conspiracy? And where I go right away, I listen to my angels and guides, but I also listen to myself. That what if this is normal? What if this is normal? And what if, because the messages that I've been getting is, we're so busy, and we will continue to be busy until we're knocked down by something. And a snowstorm, 1 or 2 inches, isn't going to slow us down. 8 inches, 10 inches, that's going to slow us down, right? It's going to shift us. So not only is Mother Earth shifting, because there will be floods and there will be shifting of the land in spring, but it's also telling us we're shifting. And Chiron is all about those wounds, those core wounds, which is emotion. And emotion is water. And so water gets to move this away. And we connect most with water because we're 80 to 85% water-based. So I don't have a succinct answer for you other than register with yourself. I tend not to go into the conspiracy theories or into the fear-based theories or the panic. As a healer, I walk the world of peace and holding that space, and so that's my message. And I just ponder, what if it's not odd? So, all right? Yep. Yeah, we always want to, we want to know why. Why is this happening? I said, the first question, why is this happening to us, instead of what's the opportunity? Okay. I think it's a great big earth blessing. Yes?
This isn't a question, but it's just something that I wanted to share. Just for everyone who's very mental, what I've noticed making a huge difference is if I catch myself saying, I suck at this, or I'm always sick, I catch it and I say, cancel that thought. I'm not always sick. I'm growing. And then I say 3 things that kind of shift it in my head, and it has been making just an amazing difference.
Yeah. It's the power of our thoughts and our words. In corporate IT, when you clean a disk, you have to clean it a number of times because the data imprint is still there. In our life, I use the delete, 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 or erase, 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 because it's still imprinted. And sometimes we have to continue to reestablish a new print, which is what you're doing by following up and saying, I am really great. I'm never sick. I'm the healthiest person in the world. Or I feel something coming on. It moves right through me. Okay? Thank you for that. Do we have time for one more? And if there's not, oh, we do have one more. I knew it.
This is to go off of what you were talking about and like the weather and all of that. And I'm not challenging your view at all, but I know that I've done study when I was working on my undergrad and I took a geology course. And I always say like generals suck and they're a waste of time and money. But this geology course taught me a lot about how the world works from a scientific standpoint. And so I think about how CO2 emissions go up, and I don't think that the world that we're living in right now is normal. I think there's a lot of stuff that the Earth is not able to decompose of naturally.
Yep.
And so that's why we see like the polar vortex shifting from one giant area in the North Pole, and it's scattered now three different masses now across the North. And this is why we see all these changes in the weather. But so I don't want to, I'm so big on weather and environment and protecting our environment, and I'm not like a general hippie, but
Yeah.
I do think that there is a lot of science about how CO2 is continuously rising. And the lakes that we live in, if we have an ice sheet over our lake, the ice sheet deflects the sun's rays. If the water is open, the water absorbs the sunlight and the energy, and that's how the water warms up. And that's why we are seeing like the Arctics, the glaciers are melting.
There's a science. Thank you for that. I do. I'm a scientist, and so I do
relate to nature.
I do. It's the left brain, right brain. You can't have one without the other in my world. So there is, and Einstein talked about the cause and effect. And even if I'm emanating love, you guys are going to feel it. I have an impact in my energy field. So does the Earth. But I'm talking about conspiracy theories, like the theory to like we're gonna cause chaos. We're gonna cause. That's what I was talking about. So thank you for that. All right. So thank you, everyone. I'm going to turn it back over to Jay here. Okay, first of all, I want to thank all of you for bringing your energy here today, because when we come together as community and we bring our energy and we open our hearts and we are a little bit vulnerable with our souls, we leave a bit of us behind in this space. And so the grace that you brought today is here for Lake Harriet. As we go forward, draw attention to the heart energy, turning up the heat in the heart, understanding the magnificence you are as a human being. Your humanness shines, carries the heart heat. And as you go out into the world, just please share that heart and the warmth of your soul. Aho.